So there's that bit of elevation done for the time being. Still needs to be a little bit higher, but it'll do for now. And I've also started on this side over here. Again, just like the other side, still needs a little more elevation, but that'll wait. What I'm going to start on now is laying the foam in this area. And of course, I've cut these pieces to size. And this is where the road and the tracks will go under the interstate at the back there. And of course I got this area, which I'm calling the unknown area because I still have no idea what I'm going to put here yet. And another thing is, once I get all this down, I've got one more piece of foam that I need to cut and place right at the back there. So overall, it's starting to take shape. So unfortunately, I'm almost out of glue. Probably should have got another bottle when I was in at the hardware store. But I'm going to try to use this to at least get the rest of this foam on the table. Don't think I'm going to get it all, so I'm probably going to have to resort to using spray adhesive, which, I mean, it'll work as well, but I don't know how well the bond will be compared to what you would have with just this regular glue that I'm using. But I don't know. See how it works. And it's the same process as when I was laying down the foam for the lanes at the back of the table there. Just doing the same with this. Main thing is I at least want to get around the edges with this. Alright, I'm officially out of glue, so I got the edges done. Now I'm going to use the spray adhesive on the rest of this. So that's all the foam down on the lower half of the display, and I do have a couple gaps in between some of the pieces, which I will take care of here later. And I didn't show it, but I did make a little bit of a slope that'll lead down from the roadway into the field over here. And I also got a truck just to test it out and make sure nothing was bottoming out with it. Worked pretty well. Don't know if I'll be sending trucks down into that field or not, but either way, pretty happy with the way that looks. Another thing I started doing was cutting out pieces of foam to finish raising up the back part of the display. And I actually came across some more styrofoam in the garage. This is from packaging that you'd get like large appliances and such in. And I've got quite a bit of that. So just going to go ahead and finish up the back of the table here. And after that I can move on to basically filling in where I need to and landscaping. Okay, so that's it for laying foam. And as you can see here, I got the back half elevated up to where I want it to be. Turned out pretty nice, I thought. And of course the lower part was done earlier on, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I ended up cutting out the footage of me doing the last couple layers of foam on the back half here because, well, first off, it took too long. A lot of cutting and shaping of the foam, and nothing really went together the way I wanted it to, so I figured just spare you guys the trouble and just cut it out completely. But unfortunately, it was another one of those deals, being things weren't going as smoothly as I wanted them to. I was honestly starting to lose my patience trying to get everything put together and leveled and what have you. And it honestly didn't help when I kept smacking my head off of this piece of ductwork somebody installed incorrectly. Yeah, the person that put this in here was a half-assed contractor. But anyways, like I said, personally I think this turned out pretty nice. Everything's nice and level, the right height. And the next step is going to be to go in and start filling in these areas here, and in between these, and of course around the elevation. And that'll be done here shortly, but the first thing I need to do is clean up the mess, because other than being a big mess on the table, I've got an even bigger one on the floor. Yeah. So once I get cleaned up and, you know, things reorganized, I'll be back. So I got all the excess foam cleaned off the table, and while I was at it, I went ahead and swept the floor. And I also ended up with a box of leftover foam from the project. And I'll probably just take this out to the garage and pitch it, because I'd rather not go through the battle of cutting and shaping that again. If I want to do another project like this, I'll try to source some better foam in the meantime. But what I've done is kind of set things up the way I want it, to give you guys an idea of what I'm aiming for and to see how my progress is coming along. And of course, the main focus for this display is going to be my recovery setup, where I have my two rotators set up here on the interstate, and they're going to be trying to recover a truck that's down over an embankment, which I'm yet to put in. But being that the recovery is going on, that'll leave the eastbound lane closed, and of course the westbound lane will still be moving. And I went ahead and temporarily put some boards in here to serve as the bridges. And at first I was a little worried. I thought I had made the elevation here too high, but then I remembered the actual bridges are going to sit down about another inch lower than what these boards do right now. And once they're in place, that'll leave probably about another inch of clearance between the bottom of the bridge and the top of the trains. So I think that'll look good, and I'd say my judgment was pretty close, if not spot on, what I wanted. But yeah, you got the train track running under the bridge, but then there's also the road that runs along the train tracks, and I got some cars set up there. And then over here is the entrance to the field, slopes down from the road into the field. And I'm thinking about putting some trees to separate the field from the road. I think that'll look a little better. But over in the field, I want to have a combine set up, and of course I got one here right now. But I'm thinking of actually making this field a cornfield. I'll have corn stalks and everything, and I'm yet to figure out how to make those. If anyone has any ideas how to make some good 1/64 scale corn stalks, leave it in the comments. But what I want to do is have so much corn out front here picked, and then so much at the back yet to be picked, and of course the truck's going to be down over the embankment into some of that corn, and I think that'll look pretty good, personally. But yeah, this is just an idea of, you know, what I have so far. And I'm still debating what to put in this area here. It's still unknown. I have been thinking about a few things I could do, but I don't really want to commit to anything just yet. But overall, I mean, I like the way things are looking so far. Something else I wanted to show was that, similar to how I did the lanes for the interstate, I made paper templates for the road and the train tracks, more in particular the roadbed under the train tracks. But this is basically to give you an idea of what the spacing is going to look like, and also, when the time comes, help me to put things where they need to be. And I'll just go ahead and grab a piece of track here and put over, and there you can see a little more of what the spacing will look like. And then somewhere in here there's going to be a level crossing, similar to what I have right here. And to do that, what I'm going to have to do is, I want to go for a more older look of a crossing. I think some of the older crossings actually used railroad ties. But what I'm going to do is cut some boards to size. Of course, this is larger than what I need, but it's just an example. And when I get the boards cut, I'm going to put them in place between the rails. probably have some on the outside of the rails too. And then that'll basically make it so the cars can drive right over. And, you know, it'll be an older look, not like today's crossings where they got the rails are just embedded in the pavement. So, overall, I think that'll look pretty nice. And maybe on the other side of the crossing, what I'll do is I'll have a gravel road instead of a paved road like what this will be and the interstate up top will be. But overall, I think it's going to look pretty nice when it's done. So that's probably going to be it. I think next time I'll go ahead and start filling in between the two lanes here, and also start building up the embankments under the bridge and along here. And then I've got a little bit of work to do along the road over there. But afterwards, I think I can probably go ahead and start doing some painting and laying down some turf, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. May run into a few other things I gotta take time and correct in the meantime, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking so far. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Ow! You mother